Welcome to the Explainer. So right now, there is a phenomenon quietly but completely reshaping our workplaces. We're talking about the absolute fastest growing cybersecurity crisis of 2026. And the wildest part about the whole thing? Almost nobody actually wants to admit that they're a part of it. It's called shadow AI.
Let me just ask you a question right off the bat, and hey, be totally honest with yourself here. Have you ever used an AI tool, maybe ChatGPT or one of those meeting summarizers, maybe a coding assistant, just to fire off a quick email, summarize a massive document, or honestly just brainstorm an idea without actually telling your IT department? If you're kind of nodding along right now, seriously, do not panic.
Because the absolute truth is you are definitely not alone in this. Every single day, incredibly well-intentioned folks, product managers, financial analysts, software developers, they do exactly this. They're not trying to be malicious, right? They're literally just trying to be more productive. But here's the catch. In doing so, they are unwittingly handing over their company's most sensitive secrets straight to public AI models. And those models don't just process that data and forget it. They keep it forever.
Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly is shadow AI? Well, it happens when employees use artificial intelligence tools that haven't been approved or, honestly, even noticed by their company's IT and security teams. And let me tell you, it is incredibly widespread. By early 2026, surveys were already showing that between 60 to 70% of organizations were exposed to this exact risk. Now, we've had shadow IT for years. Think back to people using unapproved file-sharing apps like personal Dropbox accounts back in the day. With that old-school shadow IT, you might accidentally expose a few files. The stakes were, well, relatively low. But with shadow AI, the stakes are absolutely catastrophic. Because when you feed your company's intellectual property into an unauthorized AI, that model learns from your training data permanently. It literally becomes a permanent part of the AI's core knowledge base. So what's going on here? Why are so many incredibly smart, highly capable professionals taking this massive risk? Well, nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, I think I'm going to leak some company secrets today. No. They are just trying to keep up with the totally overwhelming demands of their jobs. Because, let's face facts here, AI makes people dramatically more productive.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how strong that temptation really is. Studies are showing that AI-assisted workers are completing tasks 25% faster and with 40% higher quality than traditional workers. That is a massive productivity canyon. So when an employee is forced to choose between waiting, say, 3 months for IT to approve an official tool, or just doing their job way faster and better right this second, most people are going to choose faster, every time.
And because companies are often just far too slow to provide official, safe alternatives, everyday employees are taking matters into their own hands. They're essentially building their own dangerous bridges straight across that productivity canyon. Keep in mind, these employees are not security experts. They don't know where the data goes, they don't know how it's stored, or who can access it later. They just know that the unapproved tools work brilliantly. Let's scale this up for a second to see how this builds into a true crisis. Just in the first quarter of 2026 alone, a staggering 78% of organizations reported shadow AI incidents. Just let that sink in for a second. That is not 78% of employees, that is 78% of entire companies dealing with these unauthorized, totally invisible data streams right now.
And when things actually go wrong, the financial hit is absolutely devastating. Data breaches that involved unauthorized AI are now costing an average of $4.63 million per single incident. You might be wondering, why is it so incredibly high? Well, unlike a traditional data breach where you could maybe just lock down a compromised server and stop the bleeding, you cannot untrain an AI model. Once your data is in there, you cannot get it back. Period.
To make matters even more intense, we have seen a 40% rise in data confidentiality breaches specifically tied to autonomous AI agents. Now, these are the newer tools that can read, write, and act on data autonomously entirely without human input, which, as you can imagine, multiplies the risk exponentially. And the usage doesn't stop there. It has gotten so deeply embedded in everyday workflows that today, roughly 30% of enterprise cloud workloads are interacting with unapproved AI models in some capacity. These connections are happening quietly, totally in the background, completely out of sight of traditional security monitoring.
Now, here is the heavy existential threat for these businesses. Under really stringent regulations like GDPR over in Europe or the new AI Act, companies are held legally responsible for AI use that they don't even know is happening.
If an invisible leak compromises personal data, these companies can be hit with fines of up to 4% of their global annual revenue. Not profit, global annual revenue. For a major corporation, that could easily mean tens of billions of dollars.
Now, what's really interesting about all this is that these aren't just hypothetical fears drawn up by paranoid IT departments. Let's look at one of the most jaw-dropping real-world examples, the 2023 Samsung source code leak.
Okay, so ChatGPT launches in late 2022. Fast forward to April 2023, and Samsung employees, again with perfectly good intentions, were using it to debug code and summarize meetings. But in doing so, they accidentally leaked highly sensitive proprietary semiconductor data straight into the model. Weeks later, Samsung discovers the leak and bans the tool company-wide, but the damage was done. Forever. That data was already fully ingested into OpenAI's training pipeline. Samsung had to undergo a massive strategic pause, spending millions redesigning systems and rotating secrets, all to mitigate a risk that was caught far, far too late.
Then, there's another really infamous case from 2023 that showcases a completely different kind of risk: the New York lawyer. In this scenario, a legal professional decided to just let an unauthorized AI tool do his legal research, and basically let it completely write a federal court filing.
The result? Well, the AI very confidently generated citations to cases that literally didn't exist. It completely hallucinated legal precedents, supplying incredibly realistic-looking case numbers, dates, rulings, the whole shebang. The lawyer submitted the brief without verifying a single thing, which resulted in massive professional embarrassment and severe sanctions from a federal judge. It's a bit of dark humor for sure, but just imagine this exact thing happening with patient medical records or critical financial data. The consequences of blindly trusting unapproved AI are terrifying.
So, after all that tension, what does this all mean? How do we actually fix this? Well, take a breath, because there is relief here. The answer is absolutely not to ban AI completely. We already know from the Samsung case that bans don't work. Employees are just going to find workarounds. Instead, solving the shadow AI crisis requires a really smart combination of policy, technology, and company culture.
So here is the lifeline for organizations. First up, companies absolutely must provide official AI tools. If you give employees a safe, approved path, trust me, most will happily take it. Second, implement AI governance and guardrails. Think of it like a highway, right? You need well-marked lanes, speed limits, and clear guardrails to keep people safe. If you just set up giant roadblocks, well, people are just going to drive off-road and cause a massive accident. And third, invest in safe AI training so that employees actually understand what data is safe to share in the first place.
And for all the employees out there listening, here are your actionable steps. Step 1. Ask your IT department for official tools. Step 2. Never, ever share confidential or customer data with a public AI model. Ever. Step 3. Always verify the outputs before you use them. And step 4. If you mess up, report it to security immediately. Because the crucial point here is this: mistakes happen, we're human, but trying to cover them up is exactly what turns a minor slip-up into a full-blown corporate crisis.
Ultimately, shadow AI is not fundamentally a technology problem. It's a human problem. People just want to do good work, and they want to do it faster. The solution isn't to fight AI adoption, but to make it safe. Because look, here in 2026, every single company is an AI company, whether they actually realize it or not. The only real question left is whether they are actively managing the AI or if the AI is managing them. So, the next time you're sitting at your desk, just take a moment to look around your office. Someone sitting near you is probably using an AI tool right now that your IT department has literally never even heard of. What confidential data are they unknowingly feeding into it? And perhaps more importantly, what are you sharing?